you can almost see that it may be the worst week since the rally started, and at least from a range perspective. It's a very big range. So last week, the week before, we had a really nice gap up and close really, pretty high up there. And then this week, we just basically came all the way back down, and we are near the red line again. So that so last week after last week we were extended, and this week we pulled back to this red line. So now this red line is a 10-week moving average. Here's a look at the daily chart. So we have pulled back to this 50-day moving average here, the red line on the daily chart many times, very close to it, but this is the first time we actually touches it. Now on Friday, we did come back from the lows. Now we still close red, so technically, we're still in a pretty severe downtrend. You can see that slope is very steep. So it's common for us, for this pattern where it dropped really fast and then bounce back. And it will usually bounce back close to that trend line and get it tested again. So we need to be a little bit more patient and see what could happen next, right? So this 10-day is kind of sloping this way right now, and like I said, it's possible for it to come back up just a little bit and test, somewhere near the trend line. And if we succeed, it will, continue this V-shaped rebound. That would be ideal, what we want to see. If it fail, then we can continue this downtrend line along the 10-day, and it could continue to go down and break the 10-day line here. And once we break the 10-day line, then we look for the last, support level, so like that here recently, and then we have, right here, right? So there's multiple levels here. So those are all the support lines, and the last line of defense, because it's really low, very extended from it, is the 200-day moving average, the black line. So we don't know whether this will become more of a severe correction or whether this is the beginning of a bounce. Of course, we all want to see this market continue to rally, but again, they're just, so we had lots of earnings result the last 3 weeks, and there's probably more this coming week and so forth, but most of them have reported, and the thing is, most of them actually beat their earnings and estimate. However, even with so many stocks beating, the last time I looked was like over 80% of S&P beating their earnings. But a lot of stocks didn't react well, and that's a concern, because the reaction is always the key to understanding where the market is heading next. So for the week, Nasdaq suffered a pretty big loss, 3%. If it wasn't for the rebound, it would have been more on Friday, late Friday.